Pioneers in Education. John Henry Clarke. Known as the pioneer of African studies and higher learning and education. John Henry Clarke was a prominent figure in historical moments in American history. Most notably, the Harlem Renaissance in the 1940s, and the Black Power movement in the 1960s. Clarke's beliefs and ideas were shaped by not only the times and societal changes through which he lived, but also by his strong convictions related to an individual's history, and its role in the formation of cultural perceptions. During his life, John Henry Clarke would at times be viewed as a controversial figure, considered by some a black nationalist. Despite what some critics may think, he was more of a social reformer and historian. Compared to other influential educators, Clarke did not take the traditional route for his education. Instead, he was a strong proponent in learning through life experience, not the classroom. While Clarke himself would eventually earn a doctorate degree, he once stated that a whole lot of people with degrees don't know anything, and that a lot of people with no degrees are brilliant. In addition to his time in education, Clarke also served in the United States military and spent time in West Africa. Here his ideas regarding the needs to incorporate culturally appropriate teachings about African and the African experience were strengthened, leading to the creation of what we know today as Pan-African Culture and Studies. Born in 1915 in Union Springs, Alabama, John Henry Clarke was the youngest son of a sharecropper. Despite family expectations, John Henry Clarke left home and headed north to Harlem, New York. Relocation was common during this time among blacks living in the South seeking better opportunities in northern states. This time in history would become known as the Great Migration. Arriving in Harlem at the age of 18 in 1933, Clarke developed as a writer and lecturer during the Great Depression years, becoming a part of the movement we now refer to as the Harlem Renaissance. Much of this development came through Clarke becoming a member of several study circles such as the Harlem History Club and the Harlem Writers Workshop. During this time, Clarke began to participate in community activism. It was also during this time that he renamed himself as John Henrik, after the rebel Norwegian playwright, and added an E to his surname. Clarke studied intermittently at New York University, Columbia University, and Hunter College, the New School of Social Research, and the League for Professional Writers. Following World War II came the development of small presses and magazines. Writers and publishers continued to start new enterprises. Among them was Clarke. He co-founded the Harlem Quarterly and became a featured writer for the black-owned Pittsburgh Courier. John Henry Clarke's greatest period of influence takes place during the 1960s. He was a prominent figure during the Black Power movement, advocating studies on the African American experience and the place of Africans in world history. He challenged the views of academic historians and helped shift the way African history was studied and taught. Clarke was a scholar devoted to redressing what he saw as a systematic and racist suppression and distortion of African history by traditional scholars. Besides teaching at Hunter College and Cornell University, Clarke founded professional associations to support the study of black culture. He was a founder with Leonard Jeffers and first president of the African Heritage Studies Association, which supported scholars in areas of history, culture, literature, and the arts. Today there is some form of cultural studies programs found within major academic institutions around the world. Culture studies programs have expanded to include the gender, sexual orientation, and political theories. John Henry Clarke challenged academics to see the world through a cultural lens that would allow for the inclusion of the histories of all races and ethnic groups. Unapologetic and uncompromising, John Henry Clarke left his mark on not only his generation, but generations to come. Thank you.